And now, it's time to play some arcade favorites with your old fart of an ancient relic, A.L. Knight. Come on, slide that token in. Time to raise some arcade sin. No smoky pool rooms or restaurant dens. Just me at home with you, my friends. It's time for arcade classic playtime. I hope you brought my lunch.
Here we go. USA Donkey Kong, 1 credit. I love that sound. Took me a while to get that back. This stage is usually easier on all the consoles. As you can see, it's pretty hairy. There's 2 barrels right there. Not a big deal. It's 3 that rarely happens. Which happens usually right here. If it lines up appropriately. If you're climbing a ladder, you gotta look up above you and make sure you're not going to get squished because you don't know if the barrel's going down or if it's going over the side unless you memorize the patterns. I'm not Rain Man. And this is the USA second stage. The rivet stage. And it's called the platform stage. Ooh. I didn't think I'd get that far. Now these actually, the umbrella, the purse, all of that, they're bonus items. Here's the hammer, if you've never seen Donkey Kong. So obviously you've got to get these rivets out. There we go. Right in time. And you can't obviously walk over the holes. Here we go. The end of the first level. Nintendo has a completely different music piece for this. So for nostalgia fans, it's just not right. The rest of the game does play well though. As you can see, that barrel goes right for you if you keep going. And these stages get increasingly harder. I can't believe I'm actually still on my first life. Oh. Your thumbs will get tired on this game. Ah, there we go. My first death, level 2. And as you notice, there's only 2 stages in the first level. Let's try to get all the way up. There we go. Oh, crap. See, that's what I mean. You never know when a barrel's going down the ladder or off the side. Gotta run for it. It is trying to kill you. Last life. I backstepped that one. And that's the name of this game. I'm gonna try again later. But let's see how far I can get. Let's be hopeful. That's what I meant to do. See, that one came right down the next barrel. And you cannot climb when you get the hammer active. Okay. I like to get a good backup range going. Oh, see, that's exactly what I mean. I got overconfident. 12,100. That was my score. Also, there is no going down. You have to go across only on these games when you're putting your initials in. There we go. And to go backwards only, you have to do rub, but you cannot go up. I'm pressing up right now, and it doesn't do anything, so. There we go. There is Donkey Kong USA for the first entry. Let's hope that I can get to the other stages on the next round. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I hope you had a great day. We'll be back with more. Hello, everyone. This is AL Knight. Thank you for coming. This is the very first ever classic arcade playtime. And in case you haven't heard the ad, I'm going to go through just a few of the major issues here. Not issues, but basically the rules for how this works. One token, and this isn't on the actual arcade hardware, but I'm inserting one virtual coin and playing through the standard default settings on each game. I'm going to have 3 basic games in a row on this channel per day. And I might take a break or 2 between days, but each presentation is going to have 3 games. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the game if I haven't before. If I have, I'm not going to add any more. This first is the US Donkey Kong, and it will be played on RetroArch through the main 2010 core. I'm going to have a separate little video explaining some emulation at a very basic rate later. But just know that you have to use an emulator on a computer, and you have to load the ROM files, which are the images from the game. The emulator itself is the only software that knows how the game was played and puts it back together, along with sample files of sound from a separate folder that are preloaded by you or preloaded by the emulator, depending if they offer that or not. For Donkey Kong, I had to actually go out and find extra sound files, all of them, that were not originally included. There were some very important missing sound effects, like Mario walking and boom, boom, boom at the beginning when Donkey Kong jumps on the I-beams, causing them to fall and create the stage. Now, I want to talk about this a little bit because I got spanked for this game. I was in the arcade, very young, at a Loud's Castle in Gainesville, Florida. I jumped 3 barrels right underneath Donkey Kong, and the girder right underneath him. And that's apparently the only place I've ever been able to do it. And the only other time was recently on the Switch hardware. Nintendo Switch had the arcade, and I played the actual US arcade on there, and I jumped 3 barrels, only twice ever. The first time I ran to the mall where the Chick-fil-A was, where my parents were at, and I said I just jumped 3 barrels in Donkey Kong. I was raised in a cult that became a large Christian cult. But we could not lie, and my oldest brother said that I was lying about that, and I got spanked thoroughly so for quote-unquote making something up, which I actually ended up repeating finally just a few years ago when I had an Nintendo Switch, so I know for a fact it's possible. You can jump 2 barrels all day long. 3 is incredibly hard, but it can be done. And Donkey Kong was also my first real arcade game. As a kid, I was let into the arcade that I played right after my oldest brother. And we had a great deal of fun. Now, the US sets, when Donkey Kong first came out, had a second stage that was different. And now that second stage only exists in the Japanese mode. The Japanese version, I should say. However, when it first came out, there was in fact what people called the conveyor belt stage. The stages weren't really named. Some people called it the Pie Factory. And it only existed briefly in the US States. And then they took that out. And I never saw it myself, not that stage. And for a long time I didn't even believe my brother, so I guess it comes around full circle that when I beat the 3 barrel challenge to myself unintentionally, the next stage I was greeted with, not knowing I had loaded a Japanese version, was the actual conveyor belt stage, and I realized that my oldest brother, while saying that I lied by jumping 3 barrels, was actually telling the truth about the conveyor belt stage, as I was telling the truth about the 3 barrels being jumped. So that's my little story about Donkey Kong. It is remaining one of the hardest arcade games to this day. And believe it or not, there's actually a harder set out there for arcade cabinet that was excruciating. But that's just how the games were back then. Arcades were harder. You put your quarters in, your allowance in. Not really quarters tokens, you exchange your dollars for tokens really, but some restaurants went on quarters later. At any rate, Donkey Kong is a lot of fun, and it rewards you with breaks in between your stages, especially when you finish one full set, and you get a nice little musical number. And that's why I, on my Night Studios music, created Donkey Kong Forever music out of the 8-bit music using Suno, because I'm just that dedicated to the love of Donkey Kong. And so I'm going to be playing this first one, Donkey Kong US set, with one token, which is 3 lives, and an extra life is 7,000. And that will be the first. I will be recording my reactions, which is part of the whole point. So you're not just sitting there watching someone play through and not hearing their honest reactions, just like you would in an arcade. So I will be reacting to every death and pratfall and blaming the controller, of course. The only difference with emulation now is you don't really get a real joystick. Not like the big ball on a stick, kind of. But you do get the analog pads, and they're as close as you're going to have. So the controller is not exactly the same, and it causes sort of need of some replay, which is what I'm here for. I'm practicing only on screen. I'm not practicing behind your back. I'm seeing how far I get, and once the game is over, the game is over. I'm going to move on to the next one. And that's part of the charm and little rules that I have. If you don't have little rules, nothing's fun. There are no cheats. They're not loading off of any save games whatsoever. You really don't do that for arcade, not the arcade classics. So enjoy, and I hope that you come back for more later. Please leave a comment, like, and subscribe, and share with me. Thank you.